Un-American. Lois Lerner's lawyer saying that is exactly what holding her in contempt of Congress would be. The House planning to vote on this as early as next week. But what about the IRS targeting conservatives? Isn't that what's un-American, Emac?
Yeah, I mean, let's go back to what Lois Lerner actually said in her apology before Congress May of last year. She said we should apologize for targeting groups with names like Tea Party or Patriot in it, groups that were talking about the massive growth in government spending. It was wrong. It was absolutely incorrect. We asked two broad questions about donor names to these groups. You know, the problem is there is too much money in the nonprofit system. That is what's in terms of political activity. But that's the reality we're living with now, is an IRS that was choosing to target, and potentially for audits, to target these groups for further scrutiny.
Okay, well, if that point can be proved, Rick, wouldn't that be more un-American than what Lois Lerner's talking about?
Well, look, I mean, anybody who thinks that that's right is just wrong. I mean, there's no way you should be targeting anybody if you're the IRS. But, you know, I do wish at some point, or I hope at some point, we'll turn our attention towards rooting out those 501c who are breaking the rules, who are spending too much money in politics when they're not supposed to. Not targeting them by their political belief, but targeting them all for acting improperly.
Okay, well, Sabrina, there has been a lot of work on that. Clearly, the IRS was obsessed about it. But again, the question is whether they were obsessed about one particular group and whether that is un-American.
That's exactly. The only thing that's un-American here is that we have a progressive government that has become so unwieldy that it is targeting its own citizens for free speech. And the only thing that's unfair in this story is that we haven't gotten any answers. We don't actually know where, who is really to blame in this situation, and there have been no criminal charges placed. So I think that's the real story here.
Well, and Bill, that's another thing that people suggest is un-American. Bill Baldwin is not having an investigation that's supposed to be independent.
Maybe. Okay, so it is un-American, but I think that these Tea Party groups have been doing an awful lot of squawking about a problem that they could have waltzed right around. Instead of applying for and waiting for a nonprofit status, they should have organized as for-profit corporations and sent in a corporate tax return that shows that their revenues and their expenses are exactly equal. The tax liability is zero. There's nothing to audit. They don't pay any taxes.
Except they would have had to have disclosed their
well, that's an interesting bank shot that Bill Baldwin has usually presented us with. But Mike, to the point of which is more un-American, which do you think it is? What Lois Lerner is concerned about, or what Emac's concerned about?
I think the big thing here is that President Obama has been deceitful on so many fronts, whether it be Benghazi, whether it be Obamacare, that there be maybe no other option than contempt. And I think we see how deceitful it is here because the Democrats are already trying to push through legislation, looking to see at what type of information the Tea Party uses on its forms to then make that illegal going forward.
And Rich, bottom line is, again, we get back to this American charge, an un-American charge. Who do you think's right here? Lois Lerner or the people who say what she did was wrong?
You know, selective enforcement of the law makes a mockery of the law. If urban police target African Americans disproportionately, liberals will scream. And you know, the liberals are right to do that because that is un-American. This is just flatly un-American to selectively go against only conservative 501c3s.
Go ahead, Sabrina.
I was just going to add to Richard, I mean, of course, this Obama administration is not going to be here, indefinitely. And people on the right and the left should be agreeing on this because the fact is, eventually, it could be the groups on the left who are targeted if we allow this to continue.
And you know where we've gotten to right now, David, is now we've got the lawyer for Lois Lerner citing the McCarthy hearings. Listen, the case that the lawyer cited, Lois Lerner's lawyer cited, the McCarthy hearings, was regarding a private sector defense worker alleged to have been spying. And we're talking about a person who runs one of the most powerful agencies in the country.
Well, it is a powerful
targeting groups. And by the way, the Senate Democrats were the one who were at the leading.
The final question that has to be asked, Micah, was this a political conspiracy to kill a political movement that endangered the president's re-election chance?
It sure looks like that by the fact that she wouldn't testify.
Okay, Rick, final word. Go ahead.
Fifth Amendment. Guys, it's un-American to accuse people who haven't been proven guilty. It's un-American to accuse them because they took the Fifth Amendment.
So
guys, come on. I'm with you. If she did this, she should never have done it, but she gets to be heard.
Last word to Rick. Coming up, take a look at this.
But it's a hassle. I don't need